Hi, guys. Welcome to Wide Awake News Radio. I am your host, Charlie McGrath, along with co-host Eric Lovely on this 11th day of December, Tuesday. And I want to make an announcement. First of all, thanks to everybody who's in the chat room right now. If you're listening and you would like to join them, and you're listening on Rinse or Oracle, and you want to join the folks we have in the Wide Awake News chat room, just go to wideawakenews.com, click on the Wide Awake Radio microphone in the right hand of the homepage, and it'll take you right into the chat room. And again, welcome to all the Oracle Broadcasting listeners. And tonight's program, Eric has got some really good information he's going to bring to us here in just a minute. He talked to me just a minute ago about it before the program here, and it makes sense. It makes sense, when you hear what he's got to say. It makes sense on all the other things that we've seen being sold to the people of the planet over the last couple of years about the uber elite ruling from on high, and everybody else is going to end up in nothing more than a servant to this ruling elite class. And I'm going to turn it over to Eric here in just a minute to go on this. But I want to make an announcement. I had an emergency come up, so tonight I'm going to hang out with Eric here probably till the bottom of this hour, and then I have to go take care of something that has to be done. And because of that, Karen Tostado is going to jump in the second hour because we have Dina Everett Snyder coming on. Now, she's got this fascinating study that we just don't want to reschedule her and put it off. She did a fascinating study on helping combat veterans, and we're going to get her on. Karen's going to do an interview with her tonight. I'll do another one with her here probably next week. So for the rest of this evening, I'm going to be on here with Eric for a half hour. And then Eric's going to take over for the second half of the first hour, and then Karen's going to come on and interview Dina Everett Snyder. So great program lined up for you, Eric. I've already talked too much since I know you got a lot of info you want to bring. Tell me what you were starting to tell me before the program tonight. How the people who are being dumped on, right? The people who are the ones that were being placated to when it was time to save all the financial institutions, because that's really what it's all about. We were all sold this sales job a few years ago that we're going to work hard on behalf of recovering this economy and getting everybody back on track. But it's proving out to be exactly the opposite. It was a power grab that is continuing, and the folks that have been placated to with all these trinkets and handouts, guess what? You are going to be the new subjects in this new serfdom, and you're going to get to live how, Eric Lovely?
Well, right now the way we're looking at it, and what I want people to look for is you can start with Amsterdam, and you start looking at the PDFs that's been released about the housing issue that's going on in Amsterdam, as well as Italy, and as well as Spain, and now they're talking about Greece, and it's basically come up as an austerity idea. Brussels put forth the idea after an NGO, which is a non-governmental organization. It doesn't matter which one, if you really know. It's the Trilateral Commission, are the guys who came up with it. And basically what they're saying is to maintain services and so forth of the government, they need to vote on a new housing bill for the poor. And basically the way the bill is structured at the moment, or the way that it's being proposed, because it isn't actually structured yet for a vote, which is the reason why you'll find difficulty finding the information. You'll hear them talking about the housing issue. Well, this Trilateral Commission, with a lot of American corporate conglomerates, basically put forth the idea that the poor who are receiving 35% or more of their living ability, that's what they don't even call it living wage, they just call it living ability. If you're receiving 30% help from the government and you are single, they haven't said what they're going to do with married people, but single people will be offloaded into a 240 square foot government housing facility. Now, you as a construction man, maybe you could articulate what 240 square feet gets you, Charlie.
Well, a single car garage. I mean, is 10. A 10 by 20 is 200 square feet. So you get a little, a big living room is what you're going to get. So it's nothing. I mean, it's, and it's what really frustrates me. I mean, first of all,
well, hang on, Charlie. Let's also add on to the top before you get too frustrated and run off with the mouth. I want to get you really mad. Let's add on to the 600,000 people that just went on to food stamps in record timing.
Yeah.
Less than 4 months. The
Right.
number of people on food stamps went up 600,000. Now fire away.
Well, and see, this is the thing. This is the thing that you and namely you and I, and this is verifiable because we can go back and look at programs that you were doing that I was on, and back on this program. You and I have been talking about this for a couple of years, that this is going to be what happens when we turn the corner from soft tyranny into, I don't care what you want. I don't care what you think you deserve. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're an American. You're nothing to me. You're nothing more than a cog, and you're going to be doing exactly what you're told. So we're going to shove you into in a single car garage and call that your home, and that's going to encompass your living, your dining, your bath area. This is where you're going to get a living. You're going to get to work for the rest of your existence. Is probably going to be the case in order to pay off the failure of a bunch of bankers and a bunch of corrupt politicians. This is what we've been talking about when we've said that there's going to come a day when the hat-in-hand banker, this sad, droopy-eyed banker, going before the camera saying, please help us. We need your help in order to fix this economy. We need your help in order to turn the corner. We need your help because helping us is helping the economy. This is what it was sold to you as. And everybody in the mainstream business media, everybody in the mainstream media, everybody in Washington, D.C., everybody in the political elite set, they're all in on it. It was all a sales job so we could rewrite the Constitution, destroy the Constitution, so we could rewrite free market capitalism, destroy free market capitalism, so we could rewrite every tenet that we have of how an economy should work, and we could implement this power control grid from on high. This is what we have. We've taken all the failure, put it onto the people, and guess what, folks? No more Mr. Nice government, no more Mr. Nice banker, no more Mr. We're going to all work it out. We're going to hold hands. We're going to hold hands as a nation, and we're going to put this to bed. We're going to fix this problem, and we're going to march into a great new future. You've been conned. You've been conned, America. You've been conned, world. There is no grand utopia plan to hold hands, fix the financial sector, and move on into a happy utopia together. Because the plan was set in stone a long time ago. It had nothing to do with fixing this economy. It had everything to do with stealing everything that you have. Everything you got is going to end up in the hands of these power elite. And you're going to get a single car garage to call your very own. And if you don't like it, well, they could just kill you. And that sounds out of control, right? Look at some of the videos going around. Look at some of the instances going around where these out of control enforcement agents that are working for the banks are, showing up at people's house to throw them out with AR-15s, M16s, assault vehicles, full tactical gear. And you know what? It's going to come to the point where these people that just have no problem saying, I'm just doing my job, are going to pull the trigger on some guy because he doesn't want to leave his home that is now, 100% underwater because a banker screwed this economy over, and he's going to have one of these tactical enforcement agents, no problem, pulling a trigger on him to get him out of there because he's just doing his job. This is where we're at. This is it. This is the trajectory we are going on. Welcome to 2013. Now we're going to implement austerity in the United States of America, and the way of life as we know it has ended in this country, period, on this planet.
Well, it's so, it is such a degenerate, disgusting society itself, and people always get on me about this issue. But look, right here in California, you have a gentleman who brandished a weapon, who wounded a police officer, shot him in the leg, and they shot him 14 times and killed him. They shot his dog. They critically wounded his wife, but she's still alive. Okay, the case goes through. They're trying to try this guy after the effect and take property. Okay, now what did this all surround about? The bank was foreclosing on the property. Well, after it was all said and done, 4 days before the court was over, the banks had to step forward and say, well, guess what? We don't own that house. We were illegally trying to obtain that house through a faulty foreclosure process. So it was a big, giant mistake, and we're real sorry that this guy was killed and that police officers were shot, and it all went away.
Yeah. All right, we're going to be right back with Eric Lovely, more Wide Awake News Radio here in just a minute, guys. Hang tight. All right, guys, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Charlie McGrath, your host, still the 11th day of December, Tuesday. Eric Lovely and myself. Eric, we were talking during the. Well, let me throw it back to you because I don't know if you were done talking about this new plan to give everybody who is on the government dole by design. By the way, they were incentivized to belly up to become part of a malleable populace. So isn't it ironic how this is gonna turn, how this pendulum is gonna swing? You know, the government. Hey, man. We're really sorry for what we've done, you know, what's happened to this economy. So here's $5,000 for first-time homebuyer credit. Please go out and buy a house. We need you to buy a house. And by the way, when you buy that house, it's going to end up as a government-backed Freddie and Fannie mortgage on it. And here's a little bit more money so you can go out and buy a car. So go a little bit further into debt there. And so when, you know, all this friendly, big loving government wrapping its ever-loving arms around you saying, get out there and spend and buy, go further into debt. And isn't it ironic that now it's going to turn the corner and say, this is your fault. This is your fault, America. This is your fault because you've took on too much debt, because you bought more house than you can afford. This is your fault. So here comes the pain, Eric.
You know, to me, it's definitely 100% true, and people want me to. They want me to feel bad, and yet, yes, I have some empathy and I have some sympathy and things of this nature. However, I'm not 50 billion years old. I'm not really, you know, an ancient old weirdo. Okay, so I'm smart enough to know that I looked at the 1950s. And what did who was the prominent voices of the 1950s and the 1960s? They were Marxists. And what did they say and what did they write down? Well, we're going to infiltrate the American government, and we're going to cause them to spend exorbitant amounts of money on anything and everything that we could possibly think of and a few things that we can't think of. That's exactly what they told you. They said that they would turn it into a socialist empire builder, that it would then fall apart, decay, and break down from within, and then there would be the way that would pave the way to a one-world Marxist union. Now, everybody wants to have a problem with me saying that repeatedly and all the time. However, that is what's going on around you. It is exactly what's happening. So maybe
who's got a problem with you saying that?
Well, people don't. They want to hate, you know, Jews, or they want to hate this faction, or they want to hate that faction, and they don't understand that the world is devised into ideological struggles. That's all the world consists of. Religious war, it's an ideological struggle. Economic war, it's an ideological struggle. You know, it always boils down to ideas. People are killing people over ideas. Now, whether you want to listen to, it is just funny that people don't want to understand who the enemy is when they wrote it all down verbatim, presented it to the world, and then carried out the plan exactly as they forestated. And people want to call you a kook or a quack, or, you know, you just hate Marxists, or Marxists have been gone for whatever people want to say.
That kind of thing. You know,
but the reality is they wrote down on a piece of paper that you, the individual, listening to this program, shall be too poor to exist, much less revolt. Those were the words. Now you see the track record we're on. You see the social programming that engineers your children to vote for lunacy, to spend their time wanting because they deserve this. They're super special. They need a trophy just for showing up on Sunday and riding the pine box, and so on and so forth. It needs to be a change of culture is where we're really coming down to. It needs to be, and I don't want to say conservative because that word has been so corrupt. It needs to be common law minded. It needs to be individuals, people who understand what it means to be an individual and what has to happen, what has to exist in your political world and in your local world for you to be an individual. Because none of those things exist right now. Freedom of speech, gone. All of the things that made up a free society are gone. They're already gone. Okay? You're fighting for a renaissance. You're no longer fighting to save anything because it is already dead. You stood around with a thumb in your crack and watched the last breath drain from its body. Well, now the only choice you have is a resurrection, and that is it. Or you have tyrannical slavery, where they're going to take everything you have, it's already that way. If you look at the paperwork, I've told people about that. They prepared you for this. You know, you don't have an MSO to your title. Okay, that's the manufacturer's signature of Orient. The government holds it. They own your car. You don't. You don't hold deed and allodial title to your land. You hold a certificate of title, which means you don't even actually hold a title. For as worthless as it is, you hold a picture of something saying you hold a title. All of these things are notarized, and they're assigned by a notary public to the owner. The owner holds them. The owner holds the title to your car because it's their car. The owner holds the title to your house because it's their house. Look at box 17 on most of the homeowners form. It lists you as tenant. Okay, you need the realization. Why do you register your children? You don't own anything as it is. You have limited liability representation. You own 49%. Who owns the other 51? Have you ever asked? But people think like me. People think that people like me who talk about this are nuts. That we don't need to know about such things. Well, you entered into these adhesion contracts, and you're calling me insane. What can I tell you? This is the world you allowed to develop around you because you didn't ask questions. You didn't challenge authority. Your whole life, think about it, your whole life, you work 40 hours a week. Let's say life is good to you and you only have to work 40. So what does your life consist of? You work 8 hours a day at work. You come home. If you have children, you're doing homework, you're doing dinner and so forth. So that portion of your life is gone. So what? You get an hour a day belongs to you, and then you're going to spend the rest of it sleeping? I mean, where is your social existence? What is it that you have? What wealth are you truly building? Do you even know what wealth is?
All right, guys, hang tight. We're going to be back with Eric Lovely, more Wide Awake News Radio, and I want to sign off and tell everybody I'll see him tomorrow night. We'll be right back with Eric Lovely in just a few minutes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the broadcast. This is none other than the Eric of the Lovely family. We are here on the one and only Wide Awake News, broadcasting on Oracle and the W.A.N.Radio network. Also, to all those fine people in the chat room, I want to say howdy and welcome back to the program. We're going to go into the second half, and, I'm going to kind of open this up to anybody. Smart Scarecrow can chime in. Anyone can chime in via the telephone number 877-342-6673. But, it's high time that we really start to talk about social existence, social behaviors, mindsets, ideas, what it is that you're going to carry forward, because the ideas that you have are what are going to be the building blocks for tomorrow. There you have, Bill Ritter, you have many, many, many voices now coming out, and they basically describe the future as a bunch of powerless cities with people sitting around burning tires to cook their rat meat on a stick. So, there are more and more people that are bringing to the table a more and more grim look on the future. And we can argue about all kinds of things. We can argue about political view. We can argue about all kinds of things. But our forefathers did not bring political view to the table. Their version of government was anti-political view. In other words, they created a government where you didn't need to be a scholar. You didn't need a bunch of white coats. You didn't need a bunch of papers hanging on your wall to be a public official, to be president of the United States of America. Now, you have to get back to a society like that. But there are certain, as we always say, assumptions are bad, but when you start talking about law and the way you structure society, there are some assumptions that come along with it. In other words, if you are free, if you are of liberty, if you have a liberty mindset, then the assumption that you own your own physical body must be made. You cannot be free without that mindset. Now, you can also assume and extrapolate from that, as many people have talked about it, is if you own your body, and your body has a limited time of service, it is your tool on the planet. Let's actually talk about it. People want to talk about this. So your body belongs to you at birth. No one came along when you were born and picked up your brain and stuck you in a human body and said, here you go, we gave you a body. So the body is inherently yours from the beginning. If you exert energy and time from the allotted time pool that your body has in this plane, then you should be the benefit or reaper of whatever that time produces or doesn't produce. Because you are allotted a currency above all other currencies, known as your lifespan. Therefore, if you own your own body and you own your own labor, your time and energy, we've come this far. Is everybody in agreement with that? I don't hear any phone calls telling me I don't own my own body. So how can the government impose a third-party seizureship of 30 to 55% of your time? That is what your employment is. It's your time. You are surrendering your time instead of fishing, instead of playing, a doctor with your wife, instead of running around town playing pinball or pool games or whatever it is you want to do. You exchange that free time to go to a place of employment. Therefore, that which you earn cannot be anyone else's but yours. So this third party steps in. Well, how does it do this? It do this because it claims right of ownership. The U.S. government is a work agency. Look at the unemployment numbers. Look at the deficits. Look how it runs. Look how it actually operates. Look how it passes laws and it deals with human capital. Look at the words that it uses. You can clearly see that it is not a government. It is an employment agency that takes a cut off of the top. If you go and you get a job at a day labor place, or you go to ACT or one of these other places that is a labor pool, you collect, let's say, $10 an hour for doing whatever job they send you to do, but they collect 16. However, the difference with this particular employment agency, the costs of the agency isn't funded by the agency. It's funded by you. So instead of the agency taking their $4 cut and paying the light bill and so on and so forth, and then paying the salaries out of it, they're taking the cut, they put it in their pocket, they laugh at you and hand you the light bill. This is the theory of your government. Most people don't understand how your government really works. The theory is that when you enact your Social Security number for anything, which was never supposed to be derived as an identification tool, when you enact your Social Security number for anything in the process of registration or application, you are surrendering, saying whatever benefit, opportunity, or good comes from that application or registration belongs to the agency and not to me. Because you are using your agency employee identification number to purchase it. Don't you understand what a Social Security number is? How do you become entitled to Social Security? Well, I paid into it all these years. No, you didn't. You didn't pay a penny. You were allowed to keep a portion of your retirement money now. That's all you were allowed to do, because the regulatory body that owns you and your labor kept the rest. I mean, really, when you sit down and you really think about how the government operates, okay, it's an employment agency with its own military. Well, what runs this employment agency? The employment agency has a partner. It's called the company store. Well, who's the company store? The Federal Reserve. You have franchises of the company store, which are what you call local banks. And what do? They ever entice you with goodies and services to sell your soul to the company store. Henceforth, the reason why, in biblical terms, the Bible, usury. And usury is a sin, ladies and gentlemen, whether you like it or not. That's what the good book says. And you live in that society. Really, when you think logically about the situation and you break it down and you really put some gray matter into it and some mental fortitude, you will understand that these are nothing more than a board of directors, okay? The board of directors are the Council of 300, or the elites, the people at the top of the pyramid that you're always so elusive to understand who they are. Those are the board of directors. They receive all profits and dividends and property paid to the underling corporation. The underling corporation is your government. You understand? See, here's the whole thing. People, you don't get it. You don't understand. If you go look up your local municipalities, look up the U.S. government. All of these things are incorporated. They are government on the face, but they are corporations in reality. Everybody's like, oh, well, what does that matter? Blah, 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 blah. And people just don't understand truly what it really means, and what the whole breakdown of the society is about. It's about slavery. And being that, this incorporation, it then enacts other laws. By you voluntarily interacting with it, you simply are throwing out the Constitution and automatically reinstating the UCC as the governing guidelines. Well, how did that happen? Because you went down to the corporate law office, the ethics office, that's all the judicial department is, for your employment agency. And you filed your social security number and said, I am this. And they said, well, that's a corporation and corporate entity. Therefore, you are not ruled by the Constitution. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the one and only Wide Awake News broadcast, pumping out to you 5 days a week, right here on the one and only Wide Awake News internet channel as website, but also on the one and only Oracle Broadcasting and Rents Radio Network, as well as the fine people within the chat room. And I do want to say, before I disappear into thought again, happy birthday, Hallie Hawk. That's a very close friend of mine and whatnot that lives here with me. It's his birthday today. If anybody knows him, if he's in the chat room, I don't know if he is or not, but he'll hear it eventually. And we're gonna have an arguing, a counterbalance come in and attempt to counterbalance the argument and the issue. If anybody else wishes to call in the last broadcast of the day, feel free, because we're talking about society. I mean, building social structure, the possibility of a better tomorrow, where most people see that there is no possibility for a better tomorrow, and we're going to be eating rat burgers cooked on a stick over a flaming tire, which is a rather interesting. I mean, I don't know. I don't know when you're going to jump in here, but I'm just sitting here thinking, man, I'm trying to imagine myself, whole blocks and blocks of people sitting around in like a big city like L.A. or Detroit or
sharing
someplace.
A bit of rat.
Yeah, and they're all cooking their little rat stick, and they're burning tires, sucking in all that carcinogens and whatnot, cooking their rat meat.
If there's no gasoline, what other good use is there for those tires other than to cook our rat burgers on it? Now, the other point of view. Now, we've painted a dim picture of a Mad Max society. Now, of course, there is this other side of the argument that everything I ever needed to know about anything I learned from Star Trek, who believed that this new global society is going to be based on peace and love and humanitarianism, and that we really, we probably won't even need to use money, and we'll kind of look down our nose at people like you, who we will liken to the Ferengi, who are into this individualism, and boy, I'm going to do it seems that the American population has stated its case. It's voted for a socialist utopia. And what I can't understand, Eric, is why are you stuck in this, 20th century mindset where you believe that the individual is superior to the collective, when in reality, the needs of the many are superior to the needs of the one. So please explain where the heck you're coming from. Why are you fighting the Star Trek utopia that we're about to embark upon?
Well, I think some of the biggest things is that it's always people. Let me use the most easiest words I could use: delayed reaction. Okay, now you understand what delayed reaction is. Something happens, and then you wait around, and X amount of time period after you think something should have happened in recourse, it then happens. Okay, well, the economy things are the same. You see, the reason why the utopians are pushing right now is because they've experienced delayed reaction. The wealth that was developed by freedom, independence, and entrepreneurship has now all been spent. That's the delayed reaction. You see, the socialists came in and they spent it all. And we have been going down this path of more and more socialization each and every year, each and every term of new government officials. So for any utopian out there, why can't you produce a balanced budget? You've had 40, 50 years of running the show. This is the reality. The reality is the proof is in the pudding. You are given great wealth. You are given great power. You are given great everything. Great economy, great entrepreneurship, education system, the cutting edge of everything. And what has your utopian brought us? Poverty, starvation, tyranny, bombs, world war, oppression, slavery, sexual deviance, molestation, the trafficking of human beings. Need I go on? I don't like your utopia, and I don't want to live in it. I want to live in a place where my work and my energy dictate my own path. I don't want to live in a world where no matter how hard I work, no matter how hard I apply every drop of gray power I have, I will receive none of the benefit for it, because it's simply not fair. Hopefully that makes sense to people. It's about a moral obligation. It isn't yours. You keep taking. You keep voting for these people. You keep worrying about your Social Security. It's all going away. You can't afford it. And then the utopian society that comes forward, look at it. The cost of everything go up. We can't afford it now. Now you're going to take away the last of entrepreneurship, the last of a free market. We've been paying for everything all along. The utopians haven't paid for a thing. They've simply taken to build, and what is even funnier, there was something in the chat room too. People said that God is unlogical. Well, maybe the theory of an all superior being may be unlogical to some people. But if you actually look at the Bible, if you think that you own your own body, if you think that you should make your own decisions, if you think that the responsibilities of your decisions should only affect you and no one else, you have done two things in that thought process. Everyone who listened to me. You agreed with the forefathers that created this country, and you agreed with Jesus Christ. You can live with it however you want. You can believe anything you want. But the churches and preachers that you listen to, the leaders, the sculptors of society, you've never heard the message of Jesus Christ. You have no idea what a revolutionary about property rights. Don't steal from other people. Give it to them. Be egalitarian. Do not be a thief. Do not be a socialist. Do not use. Do not be a user of other people's production. Do not be a user of other people's time. It's a moral question. That's the problem with utopia. There's no morality in it. There's no love. It's all usury. It's all you owe me. You owe me this. You owe me that. Give me this. Give me that. No love. No expression of kindness. No bowing on one knee and washing the poor man's feet. There is no time where honor dictates that you tip your hand, and even though you may be the socially better, you may be the economically better, but you get down and you wash that poor man's feet. You just don't understand the lessons that's been taught to you. Someone has been interpreting them for you and not telling you what the message actually was. The message of liberty has been spouted by many great people. Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, George Washington, all the Adamses, all the way back to Jesus. And what was that message created for? To be the antithesis of the Babylonian system, which, for all you people who want to claim that the Zionists are the absolute supreme evil, the Zionists are the Babylonian system. But you live in the Babylonian system too. You live in the cog wheel of utopia, the Babylonian utopia, where you don't own your own body, and the elite prey upon your production. This really all, as I've said before, boils down to social comprehension. Who is it that you want to be? Stop listening to others tell you who you are or who you should be. It's about producing for you and yours and having a quality of wealth that is based not on economics, but is based on love. It is based on production. It is based on morals. So really, if the utopian idea, it'll provide you with goods and services in a prescribed situation, in a prescribed way, without morals, without egalitarianism, without love for your fellow man, without the need for a man from time to time to humble himself. A world where a man full of testosterone has no idea of humbling himself before a widow woman or before children that need his assistance is a world I choose not to live in. I understand that these things are old and foreign sounding, and they come from a time pre-gone by. But real pride, you want to know what real pride is? When you can walk into a room and you don't have to say a word, and you're met with adoration about all of the wonderful things you have done for your community and your society. That is true pride. Stealing someone's property and conniving them in a hostile takeover and usury and finagling them out of their goods. There's no pride there, only greed, only self-absorption. Pride can be both good and evil, but when pride is evil, it becomes something more than just pride. It becomes seditious. We really have to boil it down to ideas. It is time that we search our soul and come to a true comprehension of what it is we believe in, what it is where we're going. We spend most of our waking hours living our life for someone else, scratching for two-bit days called weekends that we can rub together and call our own. This must stop. The human cannot advance and become what it should be if we continue this path, living our existence and toiling for others.
In my living room watching, but I am not laughing. 'Cause when it gets tense, I know what might happen. Cold, man.